Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music. Yes, I'm back in spite of my instincts. I just enjoy this too much. So I will keep making videos for the time being. And today's video is about a band called 30 Days Out. And they don't get too many accolades, not that much respect. I've seen a lot of reviews on the web, and they talk about this band being kind of undistinguished and nothing really special. And I totally disagree. I bought both of these albums, their albums, in about 1973 or 74, and got them in cutouts, and had no idea what to expect. And even though I was definitely more into hard rock at the time, I was really pleased and surprised at how much quality there was on these two 30 Days Out albums. So let me get into the band a little bit. They're out of New York, although they spent some time in Greenfield, Massachusetts, doing a lot of rehearsals before coming back to New York City and then getting signed to Reprise Records. And the band was Phil Lowe on drums and vocals, Jack Malkin on guitar and vocals, Monty Melnick on bass, keyboards, and vocals, and John McCullough on vocals and guitar. And John Malkin was in the Outcasts, which were a reasonably successful band in the late 60s, so there is a little bit of a pedigree. But their first album came out in 1971 called 30 Days Out, recorded in New York and California. And then 1972, the album Miracle Lick came out, which was recorded in New York. And Larry Marks produced them, who did a lot of work with Lee Michaels and Phil Ochs. So he's a good producer. He did a great job on these records. And then we also have Jim Dickinson and Larry Knechtel, two known studio musicians who did a lot of the keyboard work on the album. And then there's some great female backup singers on the record as well, even though the band does a lot of harmony vocals of their own. And interestingly enough, Monty Melnick, the bass player, ended up being the tour manager of the Ramones later, which is kind of an odd connection. But I generally like a lot of hard rock, a lot of progressive, a lot of experimental, a lot of weird stuff. But these two albums are just too good to ignore. And I think one reason why they're so misunderstood is it's kind of hard to categorize them. Even though they're pretty straightforward, there's nothing dramatic about them, or even slightly weird, and there's not a lot of eclecticism. And so it's not really country rock, it's not really hard rock. It's got some folk influences. I think the band members had some folk background, at least it shows on the records. But just the overall quality is great. I'm not going to really go through the tunes too much. They're just so memorable. A lot of tunes on here just sound like hits. Everybody's looking for someone. Mama, come see me tonight. Doing the best that I can. Holy Hannah, honey, I do. They're just effervescent and buoyant, and pretty overall. It's a pretty happy feel on both their albums, and both albums are excellent. The first album is kind of notable because it came out with a black and white cover, but it had a wraparound of a ship, and so the cover was kind of interesting. And then the second album, Miracle Lick, has a really interesting cover as well. I remember when I bought them, I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought they might be more of a hard rock band. But that said, there's a lot of acoustic guitars on the record, but a lot of really excellent guitar work as well. And there's definitely a couple of numbers like Tupelo that actually rock to some extent, but not really hard rock. But they definitely have a little bit of muscle to them. But one of the things that I noticed right off the bat is John McCullough, the lead vocalist, is just excellent. Really has a distinctive sound, just a total natural, very distinctive vocals. I think comparisons I've heard to the band Free are really misguided. There's nothing on these two records that sound anything like Free, but I can just highly recommend these records for people that like 70s rock and don't mind a band that's very accessible. They're not really commercial per se, but they're very accessible. And I think every tune is excellent on both albums. The playing is excellent. The guitar player, the lead guitar player, Jack Malkin, is really excellent and adds a lot of nice leads to a lot of these songs. So even though they might be acoustic bass, the rhythm section's so strong and the electric guitar work is so good that they just have a really a great feel. And there's nothing I would change. Even the arrangements of the songs are really perfect, and the melodies are so memorable and so excellent. They really jump out at you the first time you hear these records. They somehow sound familiar because they're just so well written, and the lyrics are really quite excellent too, with some Christian overtones, but kind of a lot of themes that you see with a lot of 70s bands, like a song "Mama Come See Me Tonight" or "Everybody's Looking for Someone," have fairly predictable lyrics, but they're really well written. But I, I I just really chafe at people that think this band is undistinguished. I think they're quite remarkable, very distinct, have a great personality, and everything about them, the playing, the writing, the arrangements, the vocals, everything about them is excellent. So I couldn't find that much information on them. I've never seen them listed on any posters as opening acts. I couldn't find any reference to any bands that they might have opened for. I assume they probably played some clubs in New York and things like that, and with the connection to the previous work in the Outcasts, um, they're probably able to get some good gigs. But it would be hard to match them up with a lot of bands. They're just kind of cut their own path, and like I say, to kind of have some kinship to bands like the Eagles, but there's no country element to them really. They just have an acoustic based rock sound with a tendency towards songs that are very commercial or very accessible. Like I say, they're not commercial; they're very accessible with really strong melodies. And so I think they're an excellent band. I would definitely rate them a first tier band, even though they're fairly obscure. There's no weaknesses whatsoever, and they should have really broken out and been fairly big. Apparently, the first album did reasonably well, and then the second album just really sold poorly, and they got dropped. So I don't know if they continued to exist after 71 and 72, um, but it's not for want of all the best qualities that 70s rock has to offer. So anyway, I got the links below as usual. Check them out for those people who just like really solid 70s rock with strong melodies and great playing. You're going to find a lot to enjoy here. But for those of you who are looking for something harder or weirder or progressive or any of those elements, it's really not here. This is a very conventional rock band with very conventional songs, albeit excellent. And so, for those of you that prefer that kind of music, this is probably not going to be for you. But as I mentioned, people that really like that 70s feel, this has got a totally great 70s feel, but with wonderful melodies and great playing. Have at it. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.